All right, welcome back to the next edition of Taj's Take. Former Clemson All-American Taj Boyd joining us, TCI's college football analyst. Nobody knows more around here than this guy. Taj, obviously, we got a ways to go. We got a big game this week. We got a championship game to get through. I think everybody in the country is starting to think that, golly, this might be title number 3 between Clemson and Alabama. You mentioned in one of your earlier Taj's Take, a lot of talk about Tua and Alabama and all this. I don't think Clemson's defense is getting enough love.
No, not for what Alabama does. Now, granted, the conversation right now is that this is Nick Saban's most prolific offense since he's been at Alabama. There may be a lot of merit to that. I mean, Tua is playing at an unbelievable level. He's progressing in his passing ability as well as his way to manage the game. And obviously he can beat you on the ground as well. We saw that in the LSU game. One of the things that I still don't know yet, though, is can they do that against an elite defense? Now, granted, LSU has some guys, right?
Right.
With LSU's offense,
LSU
kind of
held them to 29.
And they held them back a little bit because those guys were on defense more than they wanted to. So when you look at Clemson as a whole, and again, I have to recant some of the statements that I made because this Clemson team could very well win the national championship this year, especially when you look at how dynamic they are and how versatile they are. Tua, the guys that he's playing against don't necessarily get the pressure on him the way that Clemson will be able to. And a lot of that comes with being able to rotate players, being able to get guys in the mix. I mean, you lose the front four right now. You still got Albert Huggins coming in. You got XT coming in. So these guys, that Alabama has up front are going to have to be able to handle that for 4 quarters. When you got a guy like Isaiah Simmons who's able to come off the edge, pressure, get there quick, fast, and in a hurry, it speeds up Tua's process more than he wants to because when you look at the way they run their offense, everything for Tua is timing-based. The out routes, the digs, it's all 3-step in the hitch, it's all 5-step in the hitch. So the moment that you take him off of that, he has to create, can he make good decisions with the football? That's something we don't know yet because what he's been prone to do is just throw the ball up in the air.
Finally had an interception this
Finally
week.
had an interception.
But he's had a lot of close ones. Like you said, it seems like sometimes he's getting lucky.
Right.
His guy's just going up and getting the ball.
And I don't think you can do that and expect to go ahead and put up 30, 40 points on Clemson's defense. It's just not possible. I mean, you got to play a clean game. And they have a good running back over there. They really do. But it's not, what they've had in the past few years. So a lot of the offense comes down to Tua and his performance. You give them enough situations, obviously those guys start heating up, The more opportunities you get, the more comfortable you get. I just don't see Clemson's offense being held back to the point where they're not on the football field. We see that with the way they're rushing the football right now. And obviously if they rush the ball that way, Trevor continues to throw the ball at the rate he's throwing it at with the guys on the outside. I mean, that's just a tough matchup for anybody. I mean, Alabama do have weapons out there. I mean, they got Jerry Jeudy, he's an unbelievable talent. I mean, really, really good player. They got a strong tight end this year. So they got weapons. But again, I still wasn't necessarily buying into it as I was watching the LSU game, just because I did think that LSU was a fraudulent football team. I mean, they kind of snuck their way up to that 3 spot.
Well, and they lost to that Florida team that got smacked by Missouri
right.
this week.
So I just thought that the whole ranking itself was undeserving. But in fact, it was a number 3 team. It was a statement victory for Nick Saban and his Tide. I mean, 29-0 regardless of the situation, especially in that environment, in their Death Valley.
Right. The fake Death Valley.
The fake Death Valley.
How much did it help Clemson that they should be able to get pressure with their front 4? LSU got some pressure, but it didn't seem like it was just coming from their defensive line.
It's solid, especially when you're able to do it with those guys. I mean, the moment you have to start adding on linebackers, it leaves loopholes in defense. You don't want to have that going out there because Tua is able to process the plays very quickly. He's able to find those holes, drop the ball in spots. It was a situation or instance out in the LSU game, a guy brought a corner cat blitz, which is a cornerback coming off of the edge, saw it quickly, adjusted. So he's a very good quarterback, and you can't take that away from him. Again, he hasn't been in a duress type environment for a full quarter, though, or a full half. So from that standpoint, we don't know what that looks like because we haven't seen him for a full game in a big time game since last year, and he only played a half in that Georgia game. So Tua's a good player. Again, I mean, Nick Saban's offense is doing things at a remarkable rate. I just don't necessarily see that happening against Clemson's defense because of how Brent Venables will be able to scheme up against those guys.
One more question for you on Tua. It's a great question for you because you played your senior year
Right.
with a torn up knee.
Yeah.
A lot of people are speculating that
Yeah.
maybe Tua's got a bad knee and that it's worse than people are letting on, and that he's just out there playing with it. And anything
Right.
you can see, having been through that, watching him play?
I mean, it may be that, and some of those guys can battle through it. What it does is affect your ability to cut, though. And if there is something really wrong with his knee, obviously we didn't see an issue with him running a straight line. But when you're talking about having to escape the pocket, get out quicker than you want to, make quick decisions, your body can't necessarily keep up with that if something's wrong with your knee. So unless he has time, he's going to be out of sync a little bit. And a lot of that, when you're talking about lower body, when you're talking about base, affects the rhythm of your throwing and the ball placement, because everything that you throw from comes from the base. If there's something wrong with it, I mean, it's going to be spotted quickly when
And
it
that's
comes
not
playoff
going to
time.
get better with rest
No.
in December.
No, it won't, unless they can find a way to lose to Georgia. Or matter of fact, that whole scenario it got canceled. So they're going to be in the SEC championship game. So he doesn't
they're there.
necessarily have that time.
Now they could still maybe lose that and get in the playoff.
Right. I mean, I think that's kind of a whole deal in itself over there. That's another conversation. But I mean, Tua has to take care of himself. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is not healthy right now. The guy that came in didn't seem very capable of handling the workload. So, their whole championship fate is riding on the shoulders of Tua Tagovailoa.
Hey, he can even pronounce
Got
his
it
name.
right,
I
yeah.
stick with Tua. All right, Taj,
Yeah.
appreciate you joining us for another edition of Taj's Take. We'll have a lot more for you. We'll have the game this weekend in BC.
Yeah.
Taj's great story. If you're not reading those on Sundays, you need to, because he's breaking it down better. Great writer. I mean, he's got a future in this stuff.
Yeah.
But he'll break it down, everything from Boston, from his thoughts watching it. You
Yeah.
usually watch it twice, right?
Watch it
Before you
twice.
do the
Watch it
write-up.
once, get in my feelings, start throwing stuff all over the place. Watch it again and try to really critically look at it, analyze it from that standpoint.
That's cool. All right, stay tuned to TCI for the most complete coverage of Clemson football.